Thank you, Deputy Speaker. There's no doubt that desperate people make desperate decisions, and this government have lost their way, they've lost control, and they've lost the willingness to care about the ongoing impacts of their budget mismanagement. We know that in the 3 years that the Premier has been leading Tasmania, they have been some of the worst years that Tasmania has faced. The budget outcomes have been the 3 worst financial positions for Tasmania. We know that more Tasmanians have lost their jobs in that period. The government positively talk about the 47,000 jobs in Tasmania, but we know there were 54,000 jobs in Tasmania, and under the leadership of this Premier, 7,000 Tasmanians full-time equivalent jobs have been lost. Things are not okay in Tasmania right now due to the leadership and the mismanagement of this government over the financials of Tasmania, and it's time that this government actually started to stand up and tell the truth about that. This morning, the Premier, when asked simple questions about the budget that this government have just handed down, could not answer those questions. The worry for me at the moment is that not only does the Premier not able to manage money, it appears that he can't read the budget and doesn't understand the consequences of the ongoing poor mismanagement to Tasmanians. When asked the question, in what year will the debt stop increasing in Tasmania, the Premier couldn't answer that. They talk about a fanciful pathway back to surplus, but cannot answer simple questions. Desperate people, when they're out of control, make desperate decisions, and it is my greatest concern right now for Tasmanians that this government has not only given up managing and leading Tasmania, they have not only given up responsible budget management, but they are now turning to intentionally create a worse financial outcome for Tasmanians in order that future governments will have almost an impossible task to correct. Tasmanian Labor are seeking to be people in this place that are responsible with the budget and aggressive with the economy. Being responsible with the budget over time will mean correcting the mistakes and the poor management of this government. The debt and deficit, worst on record in Tasmania, results in education, the quality of our health services, worst in Tasmania's history. We know that the privatisation agenda of this government is just a way to try and paper over the poor mismanagement that they have had for the 11 years in government. In the event that this government get to the point that they sell Tasmanian assets that generations have built, we will lose the capacity to receive those dividends and invest that back in Tasmanian services. Invest in just this period alone, the $600 million that would have been returned by our public assets into the Tasmanian budget to fund things like education and health. I know right now that the budgetary pressures that are being experienced by people in our health system, by our police, by our fireys, by our teachers, are turning people away from those essential professions in Tasmania. People are under so much pressure because of the poor management and the lack of care and support of this government that they are moving away from critical roles in Tasmania. We know that if this government is allowed to continue with this poor mismanagement, that Tasmanians are the people that will carry that burden. Tasmanians are feeling the pressure right now. We are moving into our next chapter of winter where more Tasmanians need more support more often. And this government, in an unbelievable sense of lack of care, are putting pressure on those services and those organisations that are supporting Tasmania most. It is clear the Premier, this government have given up. Not only do they not know how to provide for Tasmanians, but they now don't care to do that anymore. We know that not only can they not manage money, but they can't manage major projects. You look at the Spirits of Tasmania and the birth debacle, how is it even possible that this government were not prepared to receive the ships? We know that we can't trust this government anymore. They continue to stand up and present misinformation to the Tasmanian community about the situation of Tasmania's finances, about Tasmania's economy, and about the people that monitor that. Again, questions asked in this parliament this morning about the outlook after the Tasmanian budget, where the situation in Tasmania has been reshaped and people are starting to make decisions that will make the debt burden even worse in Tasmania. This government This Premier, they've given up. They are causing distress to Tasmanians. Their impacts matter and make a difference to Tasmanians. They need to do better to stand up and tell the truth.
Expired. Mr Baracus, member for Clark.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I can only hope that with this MPI today being budget management, that we can finally expect today to be the day that the opposition will, alas,